me training gear and wash it if she wants that. I don't know. No. I don't know.
Yes,
Did you ever hear
right.
such a thing, a gym wife?
Well, you hear that, don't you?
Don't you?
Radio wife.
You want to come to the
wife.
gym? Let you go on that one.
All right, then. Good luck to
All
you,
right.
and best wishes to your gym wife and every other place you have them. All right, thanks so much indeed. Yes, indeed, it is the Greg Hughes Show at 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. It's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Donegal today has claimed the European Union is bleeding Ireland dry with nothing coming back in return. Deputy Charles Ward was speaking in the Dáil during a debate on a Sinn Féin motion calling on the government to ask its MEPs to continue fighting the EU-Mercosur agreement. Ireland was one of 5 countries to oppose the deal, but opposition parties say it was too little, too late. Deputy Ward says Ireland is capitulating to Europe and the betrayal of the fishing industry is about to be replicated in the agriculture sector.
In Ireland, we hold 12% of EU waters, and we're allocated less 6%. And the new fishing quota saw us lose a third of that. And this will happen to the Irish farmer. You mark my words, when this meat comes in, we are done. The government has to stop prioritising European demands over the needs of its own citizens. All we're getting out of Europe is absolutely nothing. They're bleeding us dry. We need to stand up and we need to say no and we need to fight.
The Ulster banner will continue to be used by the Northern Ireland team at the Commonwealth Games. It comes after a suggestion that Commonwealth Games Northern Ireland would use a corporate logo at the Games in Glasgow this year instead. Its chief executive previously said he believes a more inclusive flag is needed, but they would seek guidance from the NI executive. In his response, Communities Minister and DUP MLA Gordon Lyons made it clear he believes there should be no change.
My very clear advice is that we should maintain the status quo unless and until we reach a time where there is an agreement on that cross-community basis and that we have that consensus.
A Midlands North West MEP is calling on the European Commission to suspend grok across the European Union if the platform continues to host and facilitate AI-generated sexualised images of adults and children. Nina Carberry, whose proposals for an EU-wide age verification system were adopted by Parliament recently, said there have been plenty of expressions of concern and multiple warnings from the EU and Commission Naman here in Ireland in recent days. But what's needed now, she says, is decisive action. Ms Carberry believes the provisions to allow grok be suspended are already in place.
If a company wants to operate in the EU, it has to follow EU rules. And right now, by creating sexualised pictures of women and children with AI without consent, X is clearly in breach of the Digital Services Act. That's why I'm calling for a temporary suspension of grok. Take grok offline and let X fix the problem. Should no progress be made, then a full suspension has to be on the table.
Starting off mostly dry today, it'll become wet and breezy through the morning and afternoon with rain turning heavy at times, spreading eastwards across the region. A clearance to scattered showers will follow from the west later. Highest temperatures this afternoon 4 to 8 with southerly winds increasing with the rain. They'll ease again with the clearance. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock. In the interim, check all of today's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
With 3 5G home broadband, you can get reliable, high-speed broadband without the steep price. From just €20 a month for up to 12 months. Sign up now in store or at 3.ie. From €39 a month thereafter, subject to coverage, minimum term, direct debit and annual price increase. 5G subject to location, availability and device. Speeds may vary. See 3.ie.
The talk of the Northwest. The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Yes, indeed. Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 14th of January 2026. And you're very welcome along to another edition of the programme. I do hope you're very well indeed, and thank you so much for choosing us. We've got so much for you to keep you informed and entertained over the next couple of hours, and the lines are open for you if there's any topics you wish to discuss or pass on a comment as we go through what we've got lined up for you. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. 07491 25,000, that's the number to use to give us a call, or if you want to email comments at highlandradio.com. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast or the overnight repeat, good morning, good day, wherever you're listening and however you're listening, feel free to email if you wish, and your comments will be carried over into the next live programme. Let's have a look at some of the stories making the front and inside the newspapers today. There are ghosts in Drumbo Woods, enough of them to attract the kind of tourist who's interested in the paranormal. A popular website, Spirited Ireland, also on YouTube, runs a lengthy account of the supernatural in Drumbo Woods. Given the weight of its history, the website says it's no surprise that Drumbo Woods has developed a reputation for being haunted. Locals have shared stories of eerie experiences that seem to echo the Woods' tragic past. Have you been there, and do you believe they are haunted? Have you got a story that sort of would make you sure that that's the case? Well, you can let us know. 086 60 25,000. Interesting. It is really an awful lot of the haunted house, haunted wood stuff. A lot of it can be commercialized. You know, there's a lot of people interested in that type of thing. So if it works, it works. I'm sure there's more pressing issues right now, though, in Drumbo Woods than ghosts. But anyway, you heard this referenced on the news. The coalition is coming under growing pressure to take stronger action over the Grok AI tool amid widespread concern over its use to manipulate images of women and children by digitally removing their clothes. But despite the issue dominating the first day back of the doll, the government is resisting calls to ban the technology run by Elon Musk's X, which has its European headquarters in Dublin. What do you want to see happen in this regard? Like, is this one issue to do with AI and social media that the government are latching onto, or Europe's latching onto, to try and control what you are exposed to? Or is this really the right reaction? This is how we should be reacting. You know, the word nudification is used. I'm not in any way trying to mitigate or say it's not as bad as it sounds. But what we're talking about here is people being put into bikinis or skimpy clothes. Completely unacceptable because it's done against people's will. But what do you think should happen? I presume you don't believe, do you? Maybe you do. Don't want to put thoughts into your mind that this shouldn't happen, because I wouldn't want to be the victim of it. I wouldn't really mind that much, but I certainly wouldn't want someone I care about to be the victim of this. But at the same time, do we have to be careful that the government, the EU, who perhaps would prefer to have some more of a say over what we consume, that they might use something like this as a means to censor what you're exposed to? I don't know. What do you think? I'm very interested. And tied into part of that, and I've no issue with age verification to visit certain sites and websites. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I know some people have different views and see it as some sort of an information grab to get people's ID and what have you. But do you know what? I don't think really, I don't think really you should be posting stuff on the internet that you don't stand by. And I think to protect children, if you want to watch adult material on the internet, that's completely up to you. I don't judge you whatsoever. It's perfectly fine. You do whatever you want to do as an adult. But to protect children, giving ID, age verification, is a price I certainly would be willing to pay. I wouldn't have to think twice about it. But again, other people see this as some sort of a way to control, you know, the information that you have access to, and what you might see. But anyway, this is a separate story, albeit linked in the Irish Daily Mail. Age verification should be standard procedure for all sites offering access to pornography, Gardaí will tell TDs today. Gardaí will appear before the Oireachtas Committee on Arts, Media, Communication, Culture and Sport today in relation to the regulation of online platforms and supports to improve online safety and participation. Detective Chief Superintendent Barry Walsh will say, unfortunately, from an An Garda Síochána perspective, what is being encountered is ever-increasing levels of child sexual abuse material being produced, distributed and accessed online. None of us can stand over that. None of us want to live in a society where children are abused in this way, do we? None of us really do. We want to live in a society whereby, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys and girls are accessing pornography freely. It's freely available. As I said many times on this show, in fact, X is probably one of the biggest pornographic sites in the world. I don't think any of us want our children exposed to that at that age. And the only way really we can ensure that they're not is through age verification. And people can say VPN this and workarounds that, of course, but we have to try and protect the majority, and the majority would just have to live, because it would become the norm that you don't look at this stuff until you're at least 18. Maybe there's a counter argument that I'm not seeing, but again, we have to get back to basics, and the basics is protecting vulnerable people, protecting children, and as I say, this is a price I'm prepared to pay. I'm not saying it is the general consensus, but very open to the conversation, as you can imagine. The Irish Times today reports that Ireland will allocate €42 million in funding for the people of Palestine in 2026. Minister for Foreign Affairs Helen McEntee said on a visit to the Middle East. The sum will include €20 million in core funding to support the work of United Nations Relief and Works Agency in providing services to Palestinian refugees in Gaza, the West Bank and across the region. The funding announced today demonstrates Ireland's continued support for the people of Palestine and our commitment to supporting UN partners providing vital aid and assistance, Mrs. McEntee said while visiting the Rafah crossing between Egypt and Gaza. She's pictured there meeting some of the locals and confirmed €42 million in funding in 2026 for the people of Palestine. I don't know. It's like a report has been published about the future of media in this country, and the starting position is that in a united Ireland we would have the BBC in the north and we'd have RTE in the Republic. And what would the future look like? They would be amalgamated. They'd be replaced. They would merge. Well, that's the same as amalgamated, isn't it? And someone's done a study on what the future of broadcasting in this country might look like. RTE and the BBC in the north would both have to be axed in a united Ireland, a new report claims. This is simply just an opinion, by the way, of a few scholars. Reunification could spell the end for programmes like The Late Late Show, which is absolutely nonsense. I don't know where they came up with that from. This is the paper presuming this, by the way. I'm not actually going to read that because it misunderstands the report. What the report is saying is that the infrastructure would stay the same. I mean, obviously basic programming would stay the same, but how it's done would have to be done on an all-Ireland basis. And they say this might be an opportunity to, maybe decentralise programming from Belfast and Dublin. They're not talking about getting rid of the Late Late, so I'm not even going to read the rest of that article because it's just sort of clicky bait. If you like your Guinness, I'm afraid it's going to cost you more. Struggling pubs have blown their top after the price of Guinness was hiked again. The Vintners Federation of Ireland blasted Diageo's decision to add 7 cents per pint, excluding VAT, on its draft products. The latest rise, which kicks in on February the 2nd, will be the 5th price rise from the brewer in just 3 years. And once VAT and the pub's margins are put on, the price of a pint of plain at the tap is likely to rise by 20 to 40 cents. Pat Crothy, the CEO of the VFI, which represents 4,000 Irish publicans across the country, warned the move will pile yet more pressure on pubs already battling to survive. So in some cases, a pint could go over €7, over €6, depending on what it is now, wherever you drink. But I mean, like, why are people so loyal to that particular drink? You know, you can get used to anything. I mean, I presume there are other competition stats. I know in certain pubs in Britain, they're not stocking Guinness anymore on draft and using alternatives that are out there. I mean, it's not a fabric of life that you have to drink a certain drink. You know, the pub should offer maybe alternative brands, or the consumer should say, right, enough is enough. Is there a cheaper stout brand? I don't drink it, so I don't know. But, you know, it's not like it has to be that, is it? You know, they need to be told that we're the consumer and we don't like what you're doing. And lastly, another health story. We covered health extensively on the programme yesterday, of course. A 50-year-old patient was left waiting on a chair for more than 45 hours before they were given a bed, the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation say. According to the latest figures from the INMO, 803 patients were admitted to hospital without a bed yesterday. University Hospital Limerick is the worst affected, 127 patients without a bed there. And for once, we're not in the top 3 or 4 here in the Northwest. All right, okay. That was a run through some of what is making the front pages and inside the papers today.
The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio. Text WhatsApp 086 60 25000. Call 074 91 25000 or email comments at highlandradio.com.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans made easy. Apply online or through our app today and get the funds straight into your current account.
Transform your living room with a luxurious, bespoke feature wall from Spratt Fireplaces, Newmills, Letterkenny. Our complete installations include built-in storage, electric fires, floating shelves, and stunning finishes in stone, porcelain, or marble. Each feature wall is designed and built in-house by our expert carpentry and stone masonry teams. No fuss, just flawless feature walls. Call 074 91 24144 or visit spratfireplaces.ie. Spratt Fireplaces, experts in heating, design, and detail.
My car, my rules. My laughing with friends place, or alone with my thoughts place. My private karaoke room. My mobile wardrobe. My pink fluffy slippers. My car is my me place.
With AXA Car Insurance, you can protect the place where you can truly be yourself. And with accident forgiveness as standard, you won't lose your full no-claims discount if you have an accident. Get a quote online or call into your local branch. AXA. Know you can. Policy terms and conditions apply. Accident forgiveness is step back. No claims discount protection for customers with 4 or more years. No claims discount. AXA Insurance Stack is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
What did you use to get the edges so smooth?
The Screwfix app.
I mean, how would you do it?
I just clicked on the tool and picked it up.
No, I mean, what did you actually do?
I just downloaded it.
Right.
The Screwfix app will be a new favourite tool. Browse, check stock and get exclusive offers. And quicker collection when you check in on the app. Screwfix, no stopping you.
The Grove Furnishings Big Winter Sale is now on with discounts in all departments. Sofas and chairs, dining room furniture, beds, mattresses and bedroom furniture and much more. Offers include a just arrived Reed Suite in a choice of 4 colours, 3 and 2 for €999 or 311 for €1,099 while stocks last. The Grove Furnishings Big Winter Sale now on at Lisnain and Letterkenny. Also see grovefurnishings.ie.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
The time now is 17 minutes past 9. There are a couple of places around the county. I say a couple, sorry. There are many, many places around the county where the road is inherently dangerous. And if it's not crashes, it's near misses. And also where locals are saying, listen, something needs to be done. And well up that list is Kilmacrennan. Councillor Michael McBride has raised this issue and has made calls on Donegal County Council and the TII, who are responsible for this road, and joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for your time today. Right, I mean, listen, anyone who's familiar with this road knows the crack, right? But what is the situation? How dangerous is the roads through Kilmacrennan? Because it's that crossroads is particularly dodgy, I think. So have you been gathering up some information as to just how often we see incidents there?
Well, Greg, the history there through the main street in Letterkenny in Kilmacrennan for accidents, it's very poor. I would know myself personally of about 7 very serious car accidents that happened there at the junction on the Milford Churchill Road, where vehicles just came on out without stopping. Colliding with vehicles, that were on the N56 travelling in either direction. I suppose the most recent one was a motorbike that went underneath a lorry down there, and at the other junction on the other side of the town, in the village next to Letterkenny, that's known locally as the Leiter Junction. There's been a number of accidents there at that staggered junction in recent times. So the history's not good, and something needs to be done about it. And I just thought myself, I've been kind of looking at it. We've tried about, talking to the TAA about putting in ramps and about putting in traffic lights, and we're not getting any traction on that. So I just thought myself, maybe that the average speed cameras would be maybe the best way, and that's available to us to slow down traffic going through the village in Kilmacrennan. So that's why I brought the motion into the municipal meeting yesterday. And Letterkenny, and I'm delighted that the members have unanimously supported my motion there yesterday.
Yeah, and fair play, but that doesn't make it so. We are constantly seemingly having to argue the case ourselves for, what needs to be done. But I mean, is that not the role of the TII to say, right, there's been a certain amount of collisions here, and it's up to them to come up with solutions? Like, why are we always battling and campaigning and trying to find out what could be the right thing to do?
Well, I suppose, Greg, the first thing that we find as county councillors when we bring in these types of motions, about different locations, as it'll always go back to the number of accidents that were reported where the Gardaí were called out to investigate them. So, and the motion we passed yesterday about the average speed cameras, it's actually Garda headquarters that allocate those. So we decided then yesterday at the meeting that we would ask the road section of Donegal County Council to write to Garda Síochána headquarters, ask them to consider Kilmacrennan for the average speed cameras. But it is a problem because a lot of accidents go unreported.
Yeah, and it's the near misses as well too, and pedestrians nearly getting cleaned out of it and so on and so forth. The average speed cameras, is there not a step before that? What about these digital cameras that remind people of their speed and flash if they're exceeding it? I think they're quite useful, are they not?
Well, I would be a big fan of those myself. I've asked them, the council to consider putting those on in the likes of Churchill in the past, and we seem to have great difficulty getting them in Donegal, where I see down the country now there's some other county councils. I know there, if you leave Monaghan Town going out to Clonus, there could be 3 of them on the way out there, and I think they're an excellent tool myself, but I think we're a bit slow out of the blocks in Donegal and seem to be more reluctant to use those, but I would be a big fan of them myself. But look, at the end of the day, it's all about the safety of the users, the road users, the pedestrians, cyclists, everybody, and we have to get something done in Kilmacrennan because the problem's going to get worse. There's 20% more cars on the road since 2016, and there's no sign of that going backwards at the moment. So we have to look at every tool that's available to us and try and find out solutions to the problem that we've got there in the village.
Yeah, and another thing about those cameras, which I think was quite useful, and one of your local area colleagues, I think it was Declan Meehan, raised the issue of Ramelton, if not mistaken. I think there's one on the approach to it. It also does log people's speed and excess speed and what have you, which would be a very useful tool down the line to take to the TIA. So, in the first instance, they're logging speed, they're reminding people of the speed, flashing red, please slow down, but they are also logging instances of speeding, which I think can work maybe to strengthen arguments into the future.
That's correct, Greg. And you know what? I've done a bit of research into this myself, and I went online and checked it out. There's a 2016 UK study that indicates that the 36% decrease in severe fatal accidents following the installation of these types of cameras. There's a study done in Sweden and Norway that shows that safety cameras can reduce fatal collisions between 38 and 49%. And there's a London School of Economics study found that fatal collisions decrease between 58 to 68% within 500 metres of these average speed cameras. So, look, as the man says, the proof of the pudding's there. And
the only problem I have with it, and I don't want to be negative at all, but that doesn't take into consideration the problem of Milford to Churchill traffic. If you know what I mean, and
it doesn't. That junction still remains a problem.
Well, that's it. You see,
if you have traffic travelling through the village at 30 miles an hour, rather than maybe 50 miles an hour, it gives people a better chance to get across. And look, that junction is definitely problematic, and that's where the majority of the serious accidents happen. But look, we have to take every one of these things, on its own merit. But I think if we can slow the traffic in general down going through the village, I think you'll find that the accidents will probably reduce significantly, and maybe any accidents that do happen wouldn't be of such a serious nature. But look, there's no perfect solution. I'm not saying by any means that this would be a complete answer to the problem we have, because the engineers have been looking at it, Donegal County Council engineers, and in conjunction with the TIA, and I don't see the solutions coming forward. So we can't.
Have the TIA been looking at it though? Has the TIA actually looked at it? I'd love to see what they looked at and what they said.
Well, I've raised questions about it before, and the engineers at Donegal County Council, told me that they've been looking at it with the TIA. But
it'd be very interesting to watch.
There's no action happening.
Look, I'd be very interested to get any document. I'd be very interested to get any documentation from the TIA as it relates to Kilmacrennan, because that would be quite insightful, I think. Right, we shall see and see what the listeners think. Thank you very much for your time this morning. So that is the proposal which was passed by the council to try and get, and I'm not sure in terms of the programme or the availability, to try and get average speed cameras. So in other words, you'd be clocked going into Kilmacrennan and you'd be clocked going out. It'd be determined how long it should take you if you were doing 30 kilometres an hour or something. And if you exceed a certain speed, you would get a fine. And you heard from Councillor McBride there. He's saying that evidence has shown in other areas that it can be really effective. But is that the solution that you would see? Let me know. 086 60 25,000. I know certainly on one occasion in the last year, a car was travelling from Milford and crossed that road straight into another vehicle. I'm not sure whether it was doing 30 or 100 kilometres per hour going towards Letterkenny, whether that would have made any difference. I don't think it actually addresses the problem there, and that's that dangerous junction and the chaotic nature of it with cars pulling out and pulling in all different directions. But you're from the area. Let me know what you think. 086 60 25,000. Hi, Greg. The speed of big lorries and cars going through Kilmacrennan village is unreal. I've never seen a Garda speed check or a speed van in the heart of the village. Thank you. And there's an actual Garda station there, albeit part-time, just at the on the outskirts, actually within the village boundaries. And sometimes you do see a squad car there, but obviously it's not enough to deter people from speeding. Too many close shaves, and there's a window of opportunity sometimes to avoid someone being badly injured or killed, and we can't ignore that either. And I think we're in that window at the moment. On the issue of banking, when Pascal Donoghue can give an extra €10 million of taxpayers' money away to a financial institution and then go on to get a very lucrative and highly paid job in that very same institution, then you know that there's something terribly wrong with the people in government in our country. Greg, please get the hospital on to explain what's wrong. Those poor ladies, this is in relation to the 4 women who were told that their breast surgery, they've got breast cancer, that their surgery was being cancelled. Unbelievable stuff. We are continuing to pursue that, by the way. A loyal listener says it's not just breast cancer surgeries being cancelled. Urology services are on a constant cancellation loop, all because management can't and won't manage. It's a merry-go-round of the same issues constantly resurfacing because they are never properly addressed. Nothing will change unless local management changes. They've proven themselves to be incapable and incompetent over and over again. Listen, I'm not sure about the local management thing. How do I phrase this? Let me see. I think there's certainly... I think local management recognise the problems and are saying, look, we need this, we need that, and we need the other. I'm not saying they get it right all of the time, but then they have managers that they have to deal with, regional managers, then Cialta as an organisation, and the HSE as an organisation as well. You've seen firsthand that it took a major campaign involving significant numbers of workers in the hospital to get progress on the surgical hub. So I don't believe that local management is not trying to do stuff, but they're working with what they have. Now, we have made numerous attempts, by the way, to try and organise an interview with either local management or regional management, because we believe we have that role to try and get answers to these very important questions. So please bear with us on that. We're trying our best. In relation to the surgery cancellations yesterday, Greg, beds are ring-fenced for coronary care, paediatrics, oncology. So why not surgery? Is it because there's a lack of interest from the hospital to do so? And on it goes. We have a word of warning for you coming up from a listener after this break.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. New year, new wheels. Drive into 2026 with a low-rate car loan. Fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or visit today.
Hurry, the biggest sale ever at Easy Living Furniture is almost over. Don't miss your final chance to transform your home. Every department is bursting with unbeatable offers, including sofas, living, dining, bedroom, mattresses, accessories, and more. This is your last opportunity to save big and make the most of these exceptional discounts at one of Ireland's largest furniture retailers. Shop at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, before the biggest sale ever ends.
Whether from tech, toys, tools, or devices, batteries power our everyday lives. And inside them are rare materials like lithium, cobalt, and copper that can be used again and again. That's why you should never, ever bin batteries. Always recycle them for free. It's easy. Just return your old batteries for free recycling to your point of purchase or find your nearest drop-off point. Always recycle safely. See weireland.ie for details.
In winter, it's harder to get the steps in. The couch looks so tempting, but every step counts for your health. And with the Irish Life GAA Healthy Club Steps Challenge, you can get active and give your local GAA club the chance to win a share of €30,000 in funding. Just download the free My Life app, join the challenge and take your first step today. A better life with Irish Life. The My Life app is provided by Irish Life Financial Services. Terms and conditions apply. See irishlife.ie/mylife.
It's here, the new Opel Frontera. Join Manor Motors for the Frontera Test Drive event and discover the wow, the new family fun SUV from Opel. With big comfort, huge space and room for 7. Choose hybrid or electric and make every drive a new adventure. Get behind the wheel at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer. Now with 5 years unlimited warranty. The new Opel Frontera. Fun has found its family.
Clearing out, renovating or need a septic tank emptied? Donegal Waste and Recycle has you covered with local skip hire and tanker services. Efficient, affordable and handled by a team you can trust, based in Donegal town. Book today at donegalwasteandrecycle.com or call 074 9740 130. Donegal Waste and Recycle.
Okay, on the programme now is Danielle. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. You had quite a very, very unpleasant experience, I think is how I would describe it if I was involved out shopping recently. Tell me what happened.
So it was on Friday and I was in the shop and I had my niece and my wee girl with me, so they were both 3. And I was at the till, putting through the shopping and they were like carrying on around with the baskets being, playing hide and seek. And I just happened to turn around and I seen this man like down on his hunkers at them, and I thought, oh, maybe he's just playing with them. And then when he stood up, like, 'cause he had his back to me, I thought, did he just put his phone in his pocket? So I got my shopping through anyway, and then I followed him out, and I said to him, I said, did you just take a picture of my child? And he was like, he was a foreign national, so he didn't have much English, and he was trying to say no. And I was like, I seen you with your phone. So he did. He took his phone out right away and he showed me. It was actually a video he took, and I could see my child like as clear as day in the video.
Right.
And I was like, delete that now. And he then was trying. I was like, he did delete it in front of me, but I was trying to tell him, like in the recycling bin, that it would still be in another album. And he was like translating through Google and telling me he deleted it. And I was like, no, but it's in another album, and he just wasn't understanding.
Yeah, so it would go into the archive and could be restored. That was your concern.
Yeah, like I seen him delete it, but it was still in another album. That was my concern then. So I rang the guard and reported it to them.
Before we find out what happens there, was your child the subject of the video? Now, I would be as concerned as you are, by the way, Danielle, so I'm not in any way trying to reduce the seriousness of this as far as you would see it. But was it clear that your child was the subject of the video or was in the video?
Oh, no, the subject of the video.
Right, okay.
Because he actually got down his 2 hunkers and had his phone right, and in the video I could see her standing up. And I don't know if my niece was in the video too, because I made him delete it as soon as he started playing it.
As soon as you got confirmation that this was a video, yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Did you question him as to why he did it? I know there was a communications issue because of him not having good English, but did he try and say why he did it?
No, he didn't. He didn't. As I say, he didn't speak much English, and I was just losing the one in battle. Like, so when I seen it was deleted, I thought it was just work for the guards now.
And I suppose,
but
as a mum, as a parent, after the fact, you start thinking, well, why was this happening, and what was this video for? I mean, that would be a very natural parental response.
Yeah, because at the time when it happened, like I think it was just relieved to see him delete the video, but it wasn't until I went to the shop then the next day and I was like looking around to see was anybody about, was anybody at their phones, And I realised then how much it did affect me.
Mm.
And then the more people I'm talking to, they're talking about this AI and all this. And I thought, like, he had a purpose of why he took that video. And it's just scary thinking, why did he do it?
Yeah, because, yes, I know exactly. We've moved horribly in society to a point now is that once he had captured that, whatever happens thereafter, we simply don't know in terms of the video or the image being modified or what have you. And this is a really important call at this time with all the conversation that's happening in relation to AI, to be honest with you, Danielle. You contacted the Gardaí. I don't know what the rules are here. A lot of videoing goes on in public. We see it all the time. That being said, this is on a private premises. What was the reaction from the Gardaí to your concerns?
Well, they just said that he was happy that the video was deleted too. But he said because it's a child, his boss might want to investigate further into it, so he just took my child's details and my details.
Yeah, I think it certainly, you would hope, be worthy of further scrutiny as to what else might be on a person's devices.
Well, that's it. And the more I think about it now, like at the time, I was like just so glad the photos deleted or the videos deleted. But I'm like, I do want, just to make sure his phone is clear of anything to warn other people of what's happening.
Right, okay. This was in the Carndonagh area, by the way, just so other people just can keep an eye out. And listen, this was one individual. Yeah. It's not every individual as described. This is the actions of an individual, not of a community. And I think it's very important as we move forward that people understand that and to keep that in mind. It'll be interesting to see how it's pursued. I can understand the emotions that you're feeling, but I think you acted so quickly that you don't have to worry now. But I suppose you're kind of worrying for others. It's hard to imagine, isn't it, that this is just the first ever opportunity that a person might take to take a picture or a video of a 3-year-old. So these things be in the mind, don't they?
And he'd like made it obvious what he was doing, because I went to the supermarket then and they checked the CCTV and they even said like they could see clear as day him down his hunkers with his phone, like taking the video of them.
Okay. All right. Listen, thanks, Danielle, for sharing that story. It's just for people to be aware, generally speaking, and I suppose that's the right thing to do. Demand. People don't like confrontation, but she was right. It turned out he did have that video on his phone. A caller says, this is my sister's water in Drumfries, Buncrana. They're doing a dry January in Inishowen. Every January is like a dry January. It's not by choice. They're not staying off the booze. It's the fact that the water's going out left, right and centre, and it's another year, same problem. But when the water is on, and I'm looking at an image of it here, as are our viewers, this is my sister's water in Drumfries, Buncrana. Water has been off 4 times since Saturday. What are we paying all our taxes for, they ask. Her house as well as my own crumbling down, not to mention the power going off numerous times in the past 6 months. It's a disgrace. It wouldn't be tolerated in Dublin or in the south. Can I say one thing, by the way? I don't think this would be tolerated in Letterkenny. I'm not saying Letterkenny doesn't have its problems, and there are areas, and we discuss it in and around, but certainly you would imagine this wouldn't be allowed happen in a population centre. But they go on to say, no proper investment in public services or accountability in places like Donegal. So what does this water look like? It looks like if you mixed a small amount of diluted orange with milk. That's what it looks like. It's murky, it's brown. Now I know it's reflecting the bottom of the cup, but you couldn't use it, and you can only imagine the damage it's doing to your tanks, your hot water tank, your cold, your dishwasher, your shower, and all that type of stuff. And people, and I think they're quite justified in feel they have a right. They have a right to decent water, but they're not getting it at the moment, and I don't know what's going on. 086 60 25,000 if you wish to add to that. In relation to speed, near the halfway house in Burnfoot, there's a speed limit of 60 kilometres per hour. The digital camera on the side shows on the way in it's green, which is great, but on the way out it's red saying slow down. Is it faulty for doing this, or how does it work? I've never seen the likes of this. So on the way in, so are there 2 lights? Because how would you see the rear of it? Because it could be showing onward traffic. I don't know. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, please? So I fully understand what you're saying. It's not how you've described it. I don't know the camera, so it's my understanding, to be truthful. Re Kilmacrennan, I lift my child from school at Kilmacrennan every day, and I'm very surprised at the amount of parents who use the staff car park to pull in to pick up their children. Why can they not use the public car park and cross the road like everyone else? Lead by example and teach your kids the right way. We were talking about social media and lots of you messaging in relation to that. Good morning, Greg. So instead of just saying no phones for under 18s, we want IDs for approval instead. Let's not expose them to porn, you say. But you've no problem with them being exposed to it at school. Here's someone putting words in my mouth here. People presume that because you work in the media, that you carte blanche support what's being taught in the schools. It's just a default. People presume that I am not working for RTE. I'm a normal person with my own family living here in County Donegal. I happen to work at a radio station, right? But please don't presume my views on certain things to say that I have no problem with them being exposed to porn at school. What I don't mind actually in school is children being educated so that they know when someone's doing something harmful to them. Or that boys know that you can't do this to a girl, or girls know that you can't do this to a boy, or you don't have to do that to a boy, or that you don't have someone in your life, in a person in a position of authority that is doing something to you and saying it's okay, everyone does it, it's our little secret. So I will have no problem with children having the right level of information to protect themselves from very bad adults. But there's not pornography being taught in the schools. And I don't want children being exposed to that. I wouldn't want my children being exposed to that more generally. But listen, thank you so much for your text. Like, go and tell me why we all need to be spied on because Elon Musk is a nonce enabling... Do you not know what the word nonce means? Can't say that, but I read it anyway. No, he's not. Of course he's not. He's a father of 13, believe it or not. But anyway, this caller believes that the X platform is enabling people with unhealthy interest in children. So instead of just punishing him and his platform and its users who generate it since it got limited to paid accounts so easily to track Irish customers who've paid to create revenge porn, etc. and child sexual abuse material. Yeah, well, that's it. But I think really what the EU is calling for is Grok to be taken down until measures are put in place to ensure this doesn't happen. We want the government to do their job and regulate the social media platforms and their algorithms rather than invading all our privacy through some chat control and age checks. Ban Twitter. I want Elon Musk listed as a distributor of child sexual abuse material by any and all governments. CSAM is not free speech. Greg, Snapchat is the biggest culprit of nudifying pictures and videos, and it's one of the most used platforms by children, yet there are no calls for it to be censored or banned. X allows criticism of government, which is the real reason there are calls to ban it from politicians. Well, listen, X's influence at the moment now it's not what it used to be honest with you. I agree with you that at one point that's what it was. It's not that now. And it doesn't hold government to account. It doesn't have that power. It's not taken seriously anymore because it's so left and so right, and there's so much dirt on it, right? So I disagree that this now is the platform that holds governments and the media to account. I think it's lost all the run of itself. Those that are most outspoken about the media now are just grifters. They just do it now because they get paid to do it. So I don't agree with your framing of X there. Another caller says, and listen, some of those that exploit it the most are Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, who else? J.D. Vance, Donald Trump. You know, some of the most people that are active on X are the type of people that agree with you, if you know what I mean, in terms of freedom of speech and government and so on and so forth. Right, back with more after these.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Big plans, big dreams. Home improvement loans, borrow up to €80,000. Visit letterkennycu.ie today.
At SuperValue, we've cut prices on over 500 products. SuperValue Irish Firelighter 60-pack was $3.80, now $3.50. SuperValue Irish Beefsteak Mince for 54 gram was $4.99, now $4.49. And SuperValue Irish Baby Button Mushrooms was 99 cent, now 89 cent. Save on these and over 500 more at SuperValue. Still super, now better value.
Stay warm this new year with Homeland's mega deals. There's a £104 flow gas propane cylinder, now €99, save €10. Cozy Home cold briquettes, buy 5, get 1 free. Cozy Home kiln dried hardwood crate, now €249, save 50. All this and more in store and online at homeland.ie until January 21st.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at the Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
The electorate for Shannon University elections has expanded. Thousands more graduates from higher education institutions across Ireland are now eligible to vote.
If you are an Irish citizen with a degree from an included institution, you can apply to be added to the register. The closing date is the 26th of February.
To find out more, please visit shanadvoter.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio Hospitality Awards 2026. It's time to shine a light on the places that make nights out, weekends away, and great food so special. If there's a hotel, restaurant, bar, cafe, or tourism business you love, now's your chance to say thank you. Nominate them for the Highland Radio Hospitality Awards at highlandradio.com. It only takes a minute, but it means a lot. Nominations close Friday the 23rd of January.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Are you ready to save big? The McElhenny's winter sale is here with up to 50% off your favourite designer brands. Shop in store or online at mcelhennys.com.
So it's going to become wet and breezy through this morning and afternoon, with rain turning heavy at times, spreading across the region. A clearance to scattered showers will follow across the northwest in the evening, temperatures 4 to 8 degrees. Now, a new national survey on the Hot School Meals programme has begun. Hot School Meals are available to all primary school pupils since 2019, and the programme has been a major success with a nationwide rollout. But now is the time, we're being told, to build on that and improve it even further. With that in mind, we're joined on the programme now by Senator Linda Nelson-Murray to discuss this. Good morning, Senator. Thank you for your time.
Well, Greg, how are you?
I am doing good. Listen, the reports we get in relation to this are mixed. You know, in terms of the quality of the food, the content of the food. It can vary dependent on location and supplier. And also, too, some question marks about the value of some of the stuff that's contained within. So does that all fall under the umbrella of this review?
Yeah, absolutely. As you rightly said, this started in 2019. There was a pilot scheme ran for 36 schools. And I suppose since 2019, it has been building up to be rolled out to as many primary schools as possible. And in the next 5 or 6 weeks, Greg, every single primary school will have access to the hot school meals. That'll be around 550,000 kids, or 3,200 primary schools. Like my own children, aged 10 and 11, are in primary school. They don't have it yet, but they're getting it in the next few weeks and are excited about it. But yeah, it's out since 2019. As I said, every child will have it in the next 5 or 6 weeks. And it is a wonderful thing and a great thing that every child can get a hot school meal. When I was in primary school, going back over 40 years ago, the nuns would come in, they'd ask who didn't have their lunch today, and your hand would go up for the carton of milk and the hot school bun, or the cross bun, I should say. And now no hand goes up. Every child has access to a hot meal. And any research that's been done, I suppose, over the last couple of years has showed that this has really helped with education, with well-being of children in school, of physical health. It actually has, would you believe, improved attendance in school. But now that it's nearly in every school and will be in the next few weeks, I felt it was a perfect time to actually run a survey and see what do people think. Because I kind of mentioned it briefly on social media there a couple of months ago, and I got hundreds of comments in. And I think the underlying message is, yes, people are delighted that we have this in schools, but how can we fine-tune it? How can we make it even better?
Yeah, there's a survey available at fine-gael.ie/hot school meals. Is this open to parents, guardians, caregivers, teachers? Is that the...
Everybody.
Everyone who has
absolutely everybody. Yeah, and there's a lovely comment section down at the bottom where you can actually say, you know, if the questions don't fulfil everything that you want to say about the hot school meals, there's a lovely comment section at the bottom. Up to yesterday morning, I don't have today's figures, but up to yesterday morning we had 4,300 responses,
Yeah.
which goes to show you, I suppose, the amount of comments that people have on them. So really looking forward to getting through all those results. And what it will do is that'll then be presented to government and will form the policy for going forward. Now, there is reviews ongoing. This isn't the only review. There is a cross-department group working on this at the moment anyway. Today in the Joint Directors Committee on Education and Youth, we're going to be discussing it as well. There is a dietitian involved in this. As you probably are aware, Greg, the fat content and the salt content started getting reduced from last September. So there is ongoing work, but I think that this is the first time it's a major survey for all the parents and, as you said, principals, teachers to actually submit to it and tell us how they feel.
Yeah, okay, finnegale.ie/hot school meals. Thanks, Senator. I appreciate your time. Any views in relation to the hot school meals programme, get in touch with us. You know the numbers, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. Hi, Greg. Can you ask Garda Síochána what the reason is for the station only being allowed to hand out one high-vis per person? I have a group starting a sofa to 6k tonight in preparation for the Rena Man race in March. I went to get a high vis for everyone so they'll be seen and stay safe, only to be told they could give me one for myself and that's it. I ran the same program last year and I was able to get them then. There's no difference me lifting in bulk than all my ladies going up individually and getting one. It's the same amount being given out. I tried the RSA then, but their ordering site seems to be down. It's not as if something you're going to take for free and sell on. I just found it strange. Thank you, Kira. I can see both sides to this, right? I can see, obviously, you're doing an amazing thing in getting people together and getting them out and improving health and all that. I can understand how some could exploit the generosity as well, not you, but you know others. So whilst you're going up there, everything's correct for all the right reasons. We know there could be others that are that once something is free, people lose respect for it, is what I'm saying. But there are other ways of getting them together, maybe a small donation from all those taking part. I don't know, maybe the system was abused and they had to do it this way. I really don't know, and I can't speak on their behalf, but we can certainly find out for you. I do know from speaking to the guards from time to time that they don't have a storeroom full of these, that they come in and they pass them out, and indeed sometimes they're in squad cars and they'll hand them out to people on the road. So I don't know necessarily all of the ins and outs in that regard, but I don't think it's de facto that these are available unlimited in Garda stations. But hey, rather than me waffling, I'll try and get a specific answer for you. In relation to Kilmacrennan, a bypass or a flyover is the only solution in Kilmacrennan, but that will cost a lot of money. The road in Kilmacrennan's too narrow for speed cameras. Oh, I don't know. Let's get the 10T over the road before we start talking to flyovers for Kilmacrennan. It just requires people going slower. Maybe some yellow boxes at that junction, maybe traffic light that crossroads. That's all it would take. It doesn't take a fly. All you need to do is reduce the traffic speed, because the speed is a factor in pretty much all of the things that happen there. So if that junction is the focus, some traffic lights and yellow boxes, done deal. That's it, finished really effectively, because that automatically slows the traffic on approach. But I think there's a reluctance to do that on a main thoroughfare, but they've done it 5 or 6 times in Ballybofey-Stranrawer, which is the same road, effectively, right? Just further south. So I get where you're coming from, but I think if there's a will, there certainly is a way to slow the traffic down there without having to fly over it or bypass it for that matter. Let's stay with speed. Raymond, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
You share concerns, do you, as it relates to traffic going through Kilmacrennan? What's been your experience, your observations, and what are your concerns?
Well, I walk on that road quite a bit on the N56. Hang on a second.
No problem. I know the echo can be a wee bit distracting.
Yeah. But they can put all the signs they like up. The only way that they'll get traffic slowed down is coming into the village from both sides, have traffic reducing measures, whether they be rumble strips, ramps, narrowing of the road. They have a road coming down into the village from Letterkenny and coming down past JD's recovery all the way down there. The road is X number of metres wide, and suddenly just coming into the village, it narrows way down. You come down and you're doing 95, 99 kilometres an hour, and from you see the sign till you have to slow down, it's probably 100 metres.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever goes through the village under 50. I don't care who says they do. Look at their car. Look at, there's cars driving through it now at the minute. Look down at your dash and you're doing 55, 59, 61.
Yeah.
We can't expect signs to work. Signs are only there because they're for advertising. They cover that we got it up, we got it done. And the lady spoke there about the ramps, or not the ramps, but about the cars going into the school in Kilmacrennan.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully my children are finished with the school now in Kilmacrennan. They've moved on. But I was up there this morning with a child and I just noticed 11 cars parked on the double yellow lines.
Yeah.
Think on it. Think on it. If you knew you were going to incur a €20 fine, never mind a €100 fine, if you knew you were going to incur a €20 fine, you would think, oh no, maybe I better not park there.
So
but
do you think
it's
anything for us outsiders, maybe who don't live there, maybe we overfocus, do we, on the road crossing, and we need to look at it like a resident might. It's end to end right throughout the village. There are issues.
It's end to end. We were at a community, a social prescribing event in Milford last year, and we spoke to a member of the Garda who was there in their role as a community Garda officer coming out to, and he said he would mention it, all the rest of it, but I know that there is not the resources with the Garda to police it. So there's no good, like every day you go into Letterkenny and you pass through the village every day, Greg, and you head up and you go up by Illistron, and every now and again you see the speed ban. It's a penalty kick. He just stops there to get a few pounds, moves on. Down at Portland School, penalty kick, speed ban pulls in. For a long time it was at the chapel in Terman, exactly the same thing. But when he was there, you knew you had to slow down.
Yeah.
But the minute you realised the car coming towards you was doing 100, you didn't bother even thinking about slowing down because you knew the speed ban wasn't there.
Right,
if you have the road that you have to slow down, you ask any listener now going through Newton Cunningham today to look at their speed. And their average speed going through Newton Cunningham will probably be between 30 and 40 kilometres an hour. And I know the main road going through Newton Cunningham is not on the TII, it's not an N56 road.
Yeah.
But when I have to go to Dublin and I'm going through Emmyvale, you have no option but to slow down.
Yeah,
and
that's because action,
Mills,
the same thing.
But there's no signs.
Yeah.
Because, a sign doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, listen, Raymond, thank you for that. I do have to go for the 10 o'clock
Greg,
news, though. Yeah,
before you go, I know you have to go, but just bear this in mind.
Yes.
Every 15 minutes today in your show, when you have 4 15s left till 11 o'clock, just ask the listeners driving through Kilmacrennan to look down at their speedometer. Just for that, one day.
Yeah, I got you.
And see how many people, and I walk that road quite a bit.
Yeah, but you know the answer to it as well, Raymond, you see. We already know the answer. It's the majority. Listen, thank you so much for your time, though. Points really well made, actually, and food for thought.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Take control of your finances with a debt consolidation loan today. Call 074 910 2126. Apply online through our app or in office.
Hey mate, how's all in Oz? No crack here, it's 2:30 in the morning. An early night these days. Look, I'm not partying, I just can't sleep. Tomorrow will be fun.
Trouble sleeping, low mood, stress and feeling anxious can all be signs you should check in with your mental health. For support that can help, use the My Mental Health Plan tool at yourmentalhealth.ie. From the HSC.
Chuile bhliain, Torlín ruder less a chuman lú chlas goil. Go tuban, ag an ngrá dis irde, umpin céili córic in a géili immerthe. Omahori idir chundain an lú chóirde, agus tosín irnáivde ag taku lenny chéile. Lenny niv signol fóca lati vacu, tagan na himróí club agus cundae is fearla chéile ó chuile chearan den tír. I nganzathe a galáistí agus an nól sculna, chun immert le chéile, ober le chéile agus buchan le chéile. Cahi Gerbid, Cravecha Sigerson, Fitzgibbon, agus Ordedgechis Electric Ireland iad.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with their bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
If you're naturally curious and want to solve problems, or you want to have an impact on issues you really care about, if you want to make a difference through better public policy, or you've a grá for Gaeilge and want to keep it in the conversation, if you want to use your skills to benefit society, there's a public job for that. Whatever your interest, whatever your skills, explore hundreds of different careers at publicjobs.ie.
It's a pinch yourself lotto jackpot of an estimated €6 million. Play responsibly in store, in app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, a minute past 10. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal TD is claiming the European Union is bleeding Ireland dry with nothing coming in return. Deputy Charles Ward was speaking in the Dáil during the debate on a Sinn Féin motion calling on government to demand its MEPs continue fighting the EU-Mercosur agreement. Ireland was one of 5 countries to oppose the deal, but opposition parties say it was too little, too late. Deputy Charles Ward says Ireland is capitulating to Europe and the betrayal of the fishing industry is about to be replicated in the agriculture sector.
12% of EU waters, and we're allocated less 6%. And the new fishing quota saw us lose a third of that. And this will happen to the Irish farmer. You mark my words, when this meat comes in, we are done. The government has to stop prioritising European demands over the needs of its own citizens. All we're getting out of Europe is absolutely nothing. They're bleeding us dry. We need to stand up and we need to say no and we need to fight.
Well, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs told the debate the opposition is ignoring all the hard work done by Irish officials to improve the Mercosur deal. Neil Richmond says Ireland is doing all it can.
That work was done seriously and persistently. It represents the kind of diplomacy that small, influential member state must practice if it is to defend its interests effectively within the European Union. That effort matters and is entirely ignored in the Sinn Féin motion.
Donegal County Council is asking Transport Infrastructure Ireland and Gardaí to consider the installation of average speed cameras in Kilmacrennan in a bid to reduce the average speed through the village. The issue was raised by Councillor Michael McBride this week at a Letterkenny Milford MD meeting. He said the junction from the church out onto the N56 remains a very dangerous spot, as does the Leiter junction on the Letterkenny side of the village. On today's Greg Hughes show, Councillor McBride said the evidence shows that these cameras work.
There's a 2016 UK study that indicates that the 36% decrease in severe fatal accidents following the installation of these types of cameras. There's a study done in Sweden and Norway that shows that safety cameras can reduce fatal collisions between 38 and 49%. And there's a London School of Economics study found that fatal collisions decrease between 58 to 68% within 500 metres of these average speed cameras.
The Arts Council has announced its most recent funding decisions as part of its 2026 development programme. Nationally, €72.3 million have been allocated to 148 arts organisations, local authorities and creative initiatives. Of that, just under 800,000 is coming to Donegal. Ergal Arts Festival receives €305,000. The Regional Cultural Centre in Letterkenny, 204,500. And Graydon Theatre receives 180,000 and Donegal County Council receives €105,000. A Midlands North West MEP is calling on the European Commission to suspend Grok across the Union if the platform continues to host and facilitate AI-generated sexualised images of adults and children. Nina Carberry, whose proposals for an EU-wide age verification system were recently adopted by Parliament, said there have been plenty of expressions of concern and multiple warnings both from the Commission and Commission the Man at national level in recent days. But she says what's needed now is decisive action. Ms Carberry says the provisions to allow Grok to be suspended are already in place.
If a company wants to operate in the EU, it has to follow EU rules. And right now, by creating sexualised pictures of women and children with AI without consent, X is clearly in breach of the Digital Services Act. That's why I'm calling for a temporary suspension of Grok. Take Grok offline and let X fix the problem. Should no progress be made, then a full suspension has to be on the table.
And the Ulster banner will continue to be used by the Northern Ireland team at the Commonwealth Games. It comes after a suggestion that Commonwealth Games Northern Ireland would use a corporate logo at the Games in Glasgow this year. Its chief executive said he believes a more inclusive flag is needed, but said they'd be seeking guidance from the NI executive. Now, the Communities Minister and DUP MLA Gordon Lyons has responded and he's made his view clear.
My very clear advice is that we should maintain the status quo unless and until we reach a time where there is an agreement on that cross-community basis and that we have that consensus.
Weather forecast: after a dry start, it'll become very wet and breezy through the morning and into the afternoon, with rain turning heavy at times, spreading eastwards before a clearance to scattered showers follows from the west this evening. Top temperatures this afternoon 4 to 8 degrees Celsius with strong southerly winds. They'll decrease with the arrival of the clearance after the heavy rain. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. In the interim, check all today's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Wednesday morning, the 14th of January. The death has occurred of John Dorian, Meenachan, Inver. John's remains will repose at his nephew John Arnold's home at Meenachan, Inver today and tomorrow from 12 noon until Rosary Nightly at 9 o'clock. Removal on Friday morning at 10:30 to the Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary Frossus for 11 o'clock funeral mass with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired in lieu to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, care of John McGowan Funeral Directors or any family member. John's funeral can be viewed on mcn.live. The death has taken place of Peter West, 23 Mourne Avenue, Strabane, formerly of Luton, Bedfordshire, leaving Quigley's funeral home today at 6 o'clock, going to St Mary's Church, Melmount, to repose overnight. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of John Friel, Ballinakilly, Church Hill, formerly of Auchterlin, Rathmullen, reposing at his late residence. Funeral Mass tomorrow in St Columba's Church, Glenswilly at 11 o'clock, followed by burial in Rathmullen Cemetery. The funeral Mass will be live streamed on churchservices.tv. The house is strictly private, please, to the family at the request of the deceased. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland. The death has taken place of Veronica Vonnie O'Hanlon, 29 Daly Terrace, Letterkenny, reposing at Letterkenny Funeral Home, Port Road, Letterkenny today from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Funeral home private to family and close friends, please, on the morning of the funeral. And the family home is strictly private to immediate family and close friends only, please. Funeral Mass tomorrow in St Eunan's Cathedral at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in Conwell Cemetery. The funeral Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only, please. The death has taken place of Davy Murray, Whitelease, Remelton, reposing at his home today from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 in St Mary's Church, Remelton, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. Those attending the wake between 6 and 10 should park at St Mary's Church car park, where a bus will be provided. The death has taken place of Lily Harley, née Price, Correlise Letterkenny. Funeral from her late residence this afternoon at 1:15, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, for Requiem Mass at 2 o'clock, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in Conwell Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family time, please, before the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Frances Lynch, late of Parkside Gardens, Sign Mills, formerly of Ballandrate, reposing at her brother Dennis Lynch's home at 45 Meadow Hill, Kiltoy, Letterkenny today from 12 noon until 10 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow at 11 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, Lifford at 12 noon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Alfie Gallagher, Arda St Johnson. Alfie will repose at his late residence today from 12 noon until 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:15, travelling to All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in St Columba's Church, Drumahall. The funeral mass can be viewed on newtonkillayparish.com. Family time, please, before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Mary Rose McGonigal, née Dunn, late of 4 Woodend Park, Derry Road, Strabane. Funeral from her home this morning at 10:20 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in Sacred Heart Church, Derry Road, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass can be viewed on the parish webcam. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Western Health and Social Care Trust, Ward 26, Altnagovan Hospital, care of McLaughlin Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Mary O'Brien, née Ward, Treen Duff, Bohola, County Mayo, formerly of Laguna, Ardra, reposing at Sheridan Memorial Community Centre, Bohola, today from 5 until 7 p.m. Funeral Mass in the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, tomorrow at 12 noon, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on mcn.live. The death has occurred of Dan McFeely, St Columkill Village, Clonmany, and late of Coromina. Funeral from his late sister Mary McGonigal's home at Coromina this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to St Columkill Village, Clonmany, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director. And the death has occurred of John Coyle, Main Street, Newton Cunningham. Funeral leaving his late residence this morning at 20:11, going to All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass can be viewed online at newtonkillayparish.com. Family flowers only, please. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Hey, I hope the trip has gone well. Just a quick one. Does your mum have a spare key for our place? I locked myself out. Again. So if she doesn't have a key, we're down the cost of a locksmith. Or I could just live in the shed till you're back on Sunday.
Real life. You write it. Allianz underwrite it. Feel secure with up to 4 emergency home assistance callouts each year and get 10% off new home insurance policies at allianz.ie. Allianz plc is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Standard acceptance criteria, policy conditions and minimum premiums apply.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. The Greg Hughes Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, so as you would have known, the European Council voted to OK the Mercer Core deal. Italy changed its stance at the last minute, and at the last minute we found out that Ireland was voting against it. But, I mean, there's a lot of people out there feel there's quite a lot of dual speak going on here, and that it's a fait accompli and nothing can be done, and it's all blooming Europe's fault. Obviously, they have to take a big chunk of the responsibility. Let's see if we can cut through some of that with independent MEP for Ireland Midlands North West, Luke Flanagan. Good morning, Luke. Thanks for your time.
And it certainly isn't a done deal, but
if you look at headlines that you see in, let's say, the New York Times, for example, I wouldn't forgive people for thinking that this was a done deal, because the language that's been used, as in they're saying the deal is done, but the reality is it isn't done. Every MEP gets to vote on this, and by a simple majority of one vote, this can be defeated. And I think it's a mistake for people who understand that to say that, well, there's nothing that can be done, because it lets people like me off the hook. Because if the deal is done, sure, I can throw my hands in the air and say, sure, what can I do? There's plenty I can do. I can vote to stop it. But this isn't the first opportunity that we had to stop this deal. And politicians, people often complain, and rightfully complain, that politicians don't follow through with their promises. Well, you couldn't say this of the current commission, unfortunately, because when they were looking for the votes of MEP to get into this position for the next 5 years, they held hearings at each and every committee, the Agri Commissioner included, and they could not have been clearer that if we voted for them, then they would try and push through the Mercosur deal. But at the same time, I was the only MEP in this constituency who voted against them. So anyone who says we can't stop it, to be quite honest, is wrong. And
All
we
that
have
being
another
said,
opportunity.
Luke, and maybe it's old age, but my cynicism is growing ever more. So I'm presuming the numbers were done ahead of this European Council meeting, that this would get over the line. I would imagine that the Irish government looked at it and said, right, if we go against this, that means that Irish MEPs can vote against this, but this can still get over the line. Am I being too cynical in thinking that the maths have already been done here? I know it still can be blocked, but I just get the feeling that the maths have already been done.
Well, look, there's no point cotton anyone. It is going to be a massive struggle. At the moment, I would estimate that there are around 200 MEPs, if there was a vote today, who would vote against it, and we need over 350. So yes, it's going to be a challenge. And people might say that what the Irish government did was quite cynical. They knew that it was going to go through anyway, and that their votes weren't needed. So they saved political capital at home and maybe calculated that they could get away with it in Europe. But what I would say is, I think we needed more than that from the Irish government. We needed them going around trying to convince the Italian government and other governments that this was actually a bad deal. And I suppose my focus now is, first of all, to target the MEPs from countries that had governments like Poland that went against the deal and who are currently saying they'll go into the European Parliament and vote for it. There is another opportunity to delay this for 2 years, and it's very likely that vote will take place next week or next month in Strasbourg, and that is a vote to send this to the European Court of Justice to see is it actually a legitimate deal? Does it follow all the climate agreements that the EU signed up to, and does it follow all the rules?
Yeah, but all that,
how a deal should be done
unfortunately,
in the
it seems
European
that
Union.
all that can be offset and explained away, and carbon credits and all this type of stuff. But we shall see. But like, this is a bad deal for Irish farmers, right? But it's not a bad deal for Ireland as such. We expect our exports to grow in other areas really quite significantly. It would reduce tariffs on certain things, pharmaceuticals, mechanical stuff, engineering, etc. So there are elements of the Irish economy that are going to benefit. And there are going to be other countries whereby farming is less important, whereby why could you or should you sway an MEP's view in that regard? Like, we are obviously very focused on farming, and rightly so, but broadly speaking, how are you going to convince those 150 MEPs when that deal might actually be good for them and their countries?
Well, okay, when you look at it from the point of view of GDP, and you look at it from the point of view that the gains that could potentially be made in other areas, and I'm not denying that, yeah, it would be beneficial to the pharmaceutical industry, but I don't think, and I think it would be a big mistake, and particularly for a country like Ireland that did have a famine, to look at food as being the same as widgets and being the same as pharmaceuticals, because it is more important at the end of the day. You can't eat widgets and you can't eat pharmaceuticals.
I understand that, Luke, and I'm not being
need food.
I'm not being argumentative, but you also know, what is it, 10 or 12% of the beef we produce is actually consumed and sold in Ireland, 40 odd percent to Britain, 40 odd percent to Europe. So in other words, you know, doesn't question our food security, because we produce way more meat than we actually require.
Well, I'm talking about food security at a European level.
Okay, understood.
And if we have this coming in tariff-free into the European Union, it definitely does impact us. And one of the things that I will be saying to other MEPs to try and convince them to change their mind is that it is incorrect, as some people have been saying, that this only amounts to a 1% of the overall EU production. But when they say that, they're not talking about like for like. What we need to look at is what percentage of high value cuts will this represent? And from the figures that we have, initially, this could result in 6% of high value cuts coming from Mercosur countries. And all we have to do is have a look at the dairy industry and how a 2% increase in volumes in the last year has actually led to a 30% reduction in prices that farmers get. Now, I have also heard the argument that, sure, won't we get cheaper food? I actually don't believe that that's true. I think the processors will make bigger profits. I think that the multinationals who are involved in this will make bigger profits.
No, there's not that.
But it will not trickle down to the ordinary consumers.
People should not. Supermarkets have a certain amount of shelf space. They're not going to reduce their profits. They're going to widen their profits. This is not going to. We have an abundance of meat in Europe. This is only going to lead to corporations, businesses doing better. I agree. But what about this?
Just one other thing, Greg, and I myself would have been guilty of this before I got down into the weeds of what this whole thing is about. A lot of people who aren't on a farm would say, well, what's this got to do with me? If farmers aren't doing well, how will it negatively impact on me? And I know this personally from when I was younger. I've never worked on a farm, never lived on a farm, but my father was a carpenter, and 90% of the work that he got in the 80s was from putting in fitted cupboards, putting in doors and windows for farmers who basically used their cap money to pay for this.
Yeah.
This money ended up in the local super value, in hairdressers, in the mechanics, and the money went around. So if this production is lost to a county like Donegal, it will not just only affect farmers, it will have a massive knock-on effect to the local economy.
There's a cultural impact
and when you
there
talk
as well,
about pharmaceutical industries, I know for a fact, and I listen to your radio station, you don't get ads of pharmaceutical industries, you get ads of local businesses. And while it might not come across as a very large amount of GDP, it will be to you, because if those businesses are gone and those people are gone, there's less people need to advertise with your radio station, and it actually impacts on your pocket at the end of the day.
Yeah, what about the assurances that if the gap between, you know, what the farmer is getting and the imports widens, what is it, 8% or something, that this deal is suspended? Yes. And also to the fact that we must have such incredibly robust measures to make sure that no contaminated beef or beef that doesn't comply comes into the union. What about those two things as safety nets? Does the first one not to some extent ensure a certain value for Irish meat, and B, does the second not ensure that we are getting a quality product for whatever beef might come into the union?
Well, I mean, a safeguard clause is only as good as people's willingness to trigger it. And we have safeguard clauses, to use that phrase, with deals in the European Union. In fact, we have the equivalent of a safeguard clause with Israel. And within that, there's a safeguard clause when it comes to human rights and if there's human rights abuses. Now, that has not been triggered, and we have not pulled back from dealing with Israel, even though, and people mightn't like this language, but it is a proven fact, when they are openly shooting children in the head for target practice. Now, if the European Union isn't going to pull out of a deal when that's happening, what chance will they have of pulling out of a deal if it negatively impacts on suckler farmers? And we've actually got news on this in the last 24 hours from the Paraguayan foreign minister, who is currently head of the whole Mercosur parliament. There is an equivalent of a Mercosur parliament. And he has said that he doesn't recognize these safeguard clauses. And I'll quote him. He said they are not part of the historic free trade agreement signed in Montevideo in December. Therefore, these clauses should not be included. So even they don't accept them. And the idea that they'll be triggered is fanciful. And let's say they did even apply them as they say they would apply them. It is after the damage has been done. And let's say the amount of imports increases by more than less than 8%, let's say 7.9%, then it can't be triggered. So it can be set every year to increase by that amount for it never to be triggered.
Okay.
So for me, all it was a sweetener, and that's why I voted against that. But yet again, everyone else in Ireland voted for it. I don't understand that for people who say they're against this deal.
All right, let's watch on. Thank you very much indeed for your time, MEP Luke Mean Flanagan there.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 14th of January. You're playing on the blue sheet for the daily prize of €400. The reference number is S13. It's game number 3. The numbers are 50, 57, 67, 59, 48, 78, 87, 3, 58, and finally 83. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com. Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
It's time to book Paul Claffey's trip to sunny Spain 2026. To celebrate 30 years of amazing holidays, we're heading back to the beautiful Barossa Hotel in Cadiz for one very special week from June 4th to the 11th, 2026. Joining Paul is Mike Denver, with special guests Jerry Guthrie, Dominic Herman, Brendan Shine, David James, Gina and many more, with flights from Knock, Dublin, Cork, Shannon, Belfast and the UK. The price is from only €1,289 plus tax and charges. For details call 01 685 2244 or see paulclaffeytours.ie.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want and have them printed instantly within an hour, or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
The Greg Hughes Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000. No hidden fees or charges. Is 2026 the year you move into your dream home? Call 074 910127 or email mortgage@letterkennycu.ie.
Okay, so as you may well have heard, we became aware of a lorry off the road, and we put out the usual announcements and so on and so forth, but never really understood the full extent of it until after the fact, and it really was quite a big deal in the end. Up to 15,000 crabs, as it's been labelled, made a break for freedom after the truck they were being transported in crashed into a ditch in North Donegal. Oren McLaughlin of McLaughlin's Light and Heavy Recovery Services in Burnfoot joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Oren. So tell us what you came upon.
So we were just alerted of the accident, and we
we headed down to see what the story was, and it was unusual. When we landed, we didn't know what was on the lorry. We just get a notification to go down from the authorities to go down. We looked, and we weren't long figuring it out. It was a lorry transporting live crab. And so when we landed, the trailers kind of busted, and there's, say, a quarter of the load spilled out onto the field of crab. So the lorry was that was the secondary at that stage. We just wanted to see if we could get the crab lifted and get them gathered up and try and get save as many as we could,
Yeah, and they were alive by the time you arrived there, were they? I'm not sure if they have to be alive when they arrive, but anyway, there's a mixture.
We were there within maybe 6 hours, so it wasn't so. They were still moving, anyways.
So I see in the video that Oren McLaughlin that you've put out there that you should put them into ton bags. I don't know what they're actually called. That's what I kind of know them as. Maybe they're not even that. But were they in those bags and tipped out of them, or was that the way of gathering them up and getting them on their onward journey?
They were in aluminium tubs whenever they'd be transported in the back of them lorries on the road. So obviously they were all scattered throughout the field and damaged. So our next alternative was just get the ton bags. The main thing was to get them lifted and get them into the bags and get them out on the road, out of the field, to get them on their forward journey.
Yeah, and there's money in this as well too. I mean, obviously the newspapers can make a bit of fun with the fact that this was crabs and all, but this was a lot of product effectively that had been caught or gathered in Donegal and was worth quite a significant amount of money. I'm told up to €60,000. So it needed to get to where it's going, because there's a lot of wages, I'm sure, and bills that were relying on this.
Well, yeah, obviously the fish, well, I don't know much about that. I don't know much about the cost, but they're talking about maybe 60,000 worth of cargo on board. So our main priority was trying to save as much out of it as could and get it back out on the roads, keep it going forward.
I mean, obviously, listen, you're out and about all of the time. Have you ever come across anything like this?
Well, we're the main people kind of in the northwest for doing heavy recovery, lifting for, like, if there are lorries off the road or accidents like that, we get the most of them. But we've never really come on anything like that before now, to be honest. You get plenty of lorries off the road coming out of Moville and Greencastle there with them tight roads. It's all European drivers just kind of coming from Portugal and France and all around there, and they'll be on them tight roads, like the left-hand drive lorries and stuff. It is tight, like you just, it's mostly down that area where they go off the road,
Any injuries, any nips? I'm sure these crabs didn't have their clothes
banned.
No,
this is a very positive outcome. A positive outcome. There are no one injured, and the lorry drivers and all they were shook up, obviously, yes, but there were nobody injured, and it was a positive outcome.
But anyone nipped in the recovery process, Oren?
No, nobody nipped yet, anyways.
So you've seen you've seen enough crabs now for it to last you a lifetime. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I think I don't want to see them for a while.
Okay. Good man. And Oren, thanks for sharing the video with us. Look after yourself. That's Oren McLaughlin there of McLaughlin's Light and Heavy Recovery Services Burnfoot. As he said there, they're out and about all of the time, getting people out of mischief. Thankfully, no one was injured, but these 15,000 crabs had an estimated value of €60,000. So if those lads hadn't done what they'd done, there'd be local fishermen down quite a lot of money. Because that product wouldn't have made its way to Portugal. But they gathered them all up, loaded them all up, and they're probably some person now sitting in about 19 degrees with a small glass of wine and a crab on their plate, and it's all thanks to Oren and the crew there.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans made easy. Apply online or through our app today and get the funds straight into your current account.
Hurry, the biggest sale ever at Easy Living Furniture is almost over. Don't miss your final chance to transform your home. Every department is bursting with unbeatable offers, including sofas, living, dining, bedroom, mattresses, accessories, and more. This is your last opportunity to save big and make the most of these exceptional discounts at one of Ireland's largest furniture retailers. Shop at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, before the biggest sale ever ends.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Take it to the limit. A celebration of the Eagles comes to the Radisson Hotel Sligo for one night only on Sunday, January 18th. Here, Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family perform all the Eagles' biggest hits. Tickets from €34.50. Available from hotel reception or at takeittothelimit.ie.
Keep your car running like new at Shane Connolly Cars Donegal Town. We service all vehicles, including hybrids and plug-in hybrids, using quality products and the latest diagnostics. Finishing every service with a free car wash. Relax in our waiting room with Wi-Fi, tea and coffee. And ask about our cover car options. Book your service today at Shane Connolly Cars on 9175783.
iCare Limited are a community-based charity supporting autistic individuals and families across Inishowen since 2000. iCare are recruiting a Chief Executive Officer based in Buncrana. This full-time permanent role will lead iCare through its strategic plan 2026 to 2031. Reporting to the board, the CEO will oversee operations, staff services, finances and advocacy. Please send your CV and cover letter outlining your suitability to admin@icare.ie by the 23rd of January 2026. Full job description is available at icare.ie, Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, so a new public service broadcaster should be considered in the event of United Ireland. Such a new model would involve hubs in 10 areas across the island and draw on the assets, infrastructure and people of RTE and BBC Northern Ireland. Dr. Phil Ramses from Ulster University and author of the report. Phil, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Like, I'm looking at this and at the moment, you know, I see the structure of media. I consider us to be public service broadcasters here, but we aren't funded directly, though there is some funding, of course, through Sound and Vision. TG Cahir is there, of course, it's publicly funded. So there are more than RTE and BBC in the race. Would this not be an opportunity to actually, because I think the findings of this report would be that you'd retain their infrastructure but bring them under a new all-island body. Would this not be an opportunity to actually completely look at how we operate the media in this country?
Well, yes, as you've said, we're publishing a new report today, which is entitled Public Media Ireland, a new public service media organisation for a new country. And what we're really trying to do is to map out some options and some ideas for what could or what perhaps should happen in the event of a United Ireland. And we're really stressing in the event. We're not calling for a United Ireland in this report. You're quite right that radio and radio stations like yourselves play a really important role. And in fact, the independent media sector across Ireland is really strong. And under the good work of the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland, there's already a lot of, as you suggest, public service content being produced. So public service content has never just been the preserve of organisations like BBC Northern Ireland or RTE. So there is potentially a chance to reshape the landscape and look for new opportunities.
You looked at some various options of what the future might look like. Why did you come to the conclusion that it would require, you know, something completely new? Now, I saw one newspaper report suggesting that this report is suggesting the Late Show be scrapped, which I presume is ridiculous. This is not what you're talking about here, but the paper doesn't refuse ink.
We're not getting down to the level of which shows would survive, or, you know, it's absolutely not for us to say what TV or radio programs would survive in this eventuality. We do set out 5 options, as you suggest. We say that RTE could remain and BBC Northern Ireland could remain in some form, but it's not clear how BBC Northern Ireland would be funded if Northern Ireland did become part of a reunified Ireland. Your second option is RTE takes over BBC Northern Ireland, the sort of concept of subsuming it. You know, it's that idea that somebody comes out onto Ormeau Avenue in Belfast, where Broadcasting House is situated, and takes down the BBC Northern Ireland sign and puts up the RTE sign. We don't think that's a viable option. So really what we're saying is, why not start with something new? Yes, bring the two organisations together initially under a new banner, but basically we think that a new organisation will be more palpable to especially divided communities, especially in Northern Ireland, perhaps.
But looking through some of this report, I don't think we should be waiting for United Ireland to go down this route, because at the moment, we in the Northwest know very much what the implications of a Belfast and Dublin-based media is. I know in Britain, the BBC recognised this, moved a lot of programming out of London up to the north, up to Manchester. And the idea being that if you are reporting from different areas, you actually understand. Now, I'm not sure if it was you this morning speaking on RTE, but the point was put to someone speaking of this report that, well, that's where the power is, and that's where the media is. That's where the power is, that's where the courts is, and that's why, the media needs to be based out of Dublin. Which is very troubling to me, because that's, as a consumer and someone working in the industry, is everything that's wrong with the media, that the people within it actually believe it is the right way it's being done. So, I know you've focused on this report, but some of the findings of this report, i.e. the decentralisation of some of this programming in the media, that should be done now. It makes plain sense. Why does it have to be a disaster before the amazing RTE correspondents get on the 6 o'clock news?
Yeah, no, you're quite right. So you're picking up there in comments this morning from my colleague Roddy Flynn from DCU, who's one of the authors on RTE Morning Ireland. So he and we as a team are sort of saying we can already move towards a decentralized model, especially in terms of north and south media flows, which are ongoing and have been ongoing for a number of years. Future of Media Commission 2022 called for more of that. And developing the All Ireland media economy. And then there's this new fund just announced 2 months ago by Commission to Man, which had put in place a 14 million euros shared island media fund. So you're right that you don't have to wait for United Ireland to see more of this kind of north-south working, and also more decentralisation. And we do say in the report that we would like to see whatever broadcaster in whatever form survives or persists in a United Ireland to be more centralised and to look to the regions. I think this is true in every country in the world, especially true in Great Britain, as you mentioned. The BBC have been under great pressure to move out to the regions, have done so. Channel 4, especially with their move to Leeds. And we could see more of that in Ireland, less of a Belfast, Dublin-centric model.
Yeah, because it's very frustrating as a consumer of media, new rules in terms of car licensing, or minimum unit pricing, or introducing tax on vapes. It's never factored in the impact this has on the people and communities in border regions, because we are next door to an area that's run completely differently. And when you're Dublin based, you're never going to think about that, and it can be very, very frustrating. But Phil, I know the focus was on the media here, but this is the point I've been trying to make on this programme a number of times. When it comes down to a border poll, some people think it's just going to be about whether you support Sinn Féin or the DUP, or Catholics or Protestants. We live in a much more diverse country now, and the same questions need to be asked of our health system, of the postal system, of the TII. These are all the actual big questions that will be the majority of the focus, I believe, ahead of any border poll. The media is a fantastic example and a really interesting examination, right? But where's cancer services going to be provided in the Northwest? Is it going to be in Altnagelvin? Is it going to be in Letterkenny? All of these things are all going to be up for discussion in advance of any border poll.
No, you make a really good point. And, as I'm sure your listeners are aware, there's a live and active debate going on last night and today about acute services at the SWA in Enniskillen, in terms of people from Fermanagh having to travel perhaps to Altnagelvin. So these are live issues. It is true that people in rural areas or border areas are often perhaps overlooked. I don't live in Belfast myself. I'm out in, not quite as far as Fermanagh, but I am out at a distance from the capital. And it's true we can be overlooked. On all of the questions that would have to be asked in the run up to a border poll, I think what we learned from the Brexit vote, and I think what we also learned from the Scottish independence referendum, which is over 10 years ago, those are the two sort of closest comparisons. Detail matters. Voters need to know what they're going to be voting on. And, it's been fascinating to see Sam McBride and Fintan O'Toole's new book, For and Against United Ireland, try to set out some of this level of detail. What would the Postal Service look like? What would the Health Service look like? And we think all of those things are important, although we're not health experts or postal experts or anything else. What we're saying is, in terms of media, it would be quite nice if we had some kind of roadmap in place.
Yeah.
There's actually been very little discussion on this before this report.
Of course, and optics matter as well. Would one community feel that their access to information was being, reduced to another, et cetera, et cetera? It actually really is quite complex and really quite important, because it's very easy to criticize the media, but still plays quite an important role. Even if it's not always obvious, it does. Where can we access this report, Phil, to get more of a detailed look? Because none of these interviews are going to do the work you and the other academics have put into it. So if people want to digest it, is it publicly available yet? And if so, where?
Yes, it's publicly available as of this morning. It's on the Ulster University website, so hopefully people can find their way to the report in its PDF form. It is as detailed as we could make it at this stage. We're very clear to sort of say, look, this could be years away, this could be decades away, things might change in the intervening years, but we wanted to just sort of set out some kind of starter for 10, if you like, to sort of say, here are some of the issues, and here's what we think could or perhaps might happen.
But from my perspective, as important as that work is, it actually, for me, has brought a very a conversation I think we should be having now into the spotlight as well, which is really interesting. Thanks, Phil. Look after yourself. That's Phil Ramsey there, Dr. Phil Ramsey from the Ulster University and author of that report. What do you see? What would you like to see? 086 60 25,000. A caller says, if Brazilians have to increase their costs to meet our regulations and then have transport fees on top of that, I really don't understand how they'd be able to afford to undercut us. Well, firstly, mass production. Secondly, it's not built to the same regulations. However, it's whatever can be found in the meat once it arrives into Europe as well too. So there's tons of ways, labour costs, how the cows are fed, whether it's grass-based or not. There's tons and tons and tons of ways that they can make it much cheaper than Irish farmers. Irish farmers could produce good beef, much cheaper than they do now. But the amount of hoops they have to jump over and poles they have to waltz under means that there is and then, of course, they're told how much they're going to get paid for it too. Greg, massacre is the death knell of farming in Donegal and in Ireland. So why do you want it to be passed? Don't believe the hype, which would mean beef with hormones and antibiotics coming into the market. Do you want to eat it? I get where you're coming from, but please don't confuse my trying to tease out a conversation to get to certain points as an opinion in this regard. I'll make it very clear if that's what I think. I'm putting the counterpoints there. Luke Ming-Flanagan is very well able to take me on, and even he was understanding, of course, of the angles that I'm coming at. Farming, Donegal, this is where I'm from. The farmers are my literal friends and family. I do understand it. I'm not sitting in Montrose and I didn't get the dart to work, and I don't go out and eat fancy food and coffee in a restaurant at lunchtime. I know exactly what life is like here because I've lived here my entire life, bar 3 years. Good man Luke, says another listener. It'll put farms out of business and then people will go hungry. It's all part of the World Economic Forum's satanic agenda. Okay. Right, here's what I'm confused about. How's this South American beef supposed to undercut our beef if they're to follow EU regulations to sell it here? Is it just sheer supply or what? Because to me, this is sounding a lot of fear-mongering from a crowd that vehemently opposes any change to the market every time it comes up. We know how they rear their beef. We know what they put into the beef. Now, by the time it gets here, is that traceable? I don't know. If they're putting antibiotics into it, are those antibiotics found in testing, or are we just consuming antibiotics and then they become less powerful to humans into the future? We don't know. But I mean, listen, if you don't have to produce animals to the same standards of Irish farmers, you can do it for virtually nothing. What do you feed them? You bulk them up. You don't have to feed them grass and then when it comes to a certain time of the year, take them in and then feed them in the sheds and spend a fortune left, right and centre. You pump them full of hormones, get them fat, get them up to a certain weight, get them butchered and get them into Ireland or into Europe. So that's how they save the money.
The Greg Hughes Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. New year, new wheels. Drive into 2026 with a low-rate car loan. Fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or visit today.
At Charlie's in Letterkenny, they've been serving great food since 1984 to sit in and take away. Everything at Charlie's is cooked to order, so if you're having an all-day breakfast, a burger, or their renowned fish and chips, you'll know they've been freshly prepared. And there's a great selection of gluten-free options. Charlie's, in the heart of Letterkenny, open Tuesday to Saturday from 12 to 8, and for breakfast on Fridays from 9 on the Pierce Road. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's.
It's the famous Right Price Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware half-price January sale. Get up to 50% off all tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Huge savings. Tiles from only $4.99, wood flooring from only $9.99 per square yard. And bathroom cabinets and toilets reduced to clear. Right Price Tiles Wood Flooring and Bathware half-price January sale is now on.
Change is the only constant in business. So whether you're starting or growing your business, our dedicated business teams will always be here to support you every step of the way, because the best businesses never stop beginning. Search Bank of Ireland Business. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Bank of Ireland is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
It's here. Our new primetime schedule is now live. Start your day with the Naughty Alarm Clock, 6:30 to 9 a.m, then the Greg Hughes Show, 9 till 11. From 11 a.m, John Breslin on Around the Northwest will keep you entertained up to 1 p.m. Followed by lunchtime news, 1 to 1:30. Afternoons of change with the Jive Time with David James, 1:30 to 3:30. And the home stretch with Danny and Anya, 3:30 to 5:30. Stay informed with main evening news, then finish the workday strong with the Power Hour with Ivan Borland, 6 to 7 p.m. Your weekday lineup now on air. Evening and weekend shows remain unchanged.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Are you ready to save big? The McElhenny's winter sale is here with up to 50% off your favourite designer brands. Shop in store or online at mcelhennys.com.
Okay, so the weather forecast after this dry morning is changing. Let me open it here. It's going to be becoming wet and breezy through this morning and afternoon with rain turning heavy at times, so it will clear a little later on. Joined in studio now by Sarah Gillespie, founder of Rinka Kids Fitness. How are you?
Good morning, Greg.
Good to
How
have
are
you back.
you? Yes, thank you. It's been a few years since I was here last.
A decade.
A decade.
And I have to say,
10 years.
I don't think either of us have aged a bit.
Not in the slightest.
Still looking fantastic. Listen, we don't have time to do your story justice, but we wanted to recognise the fact that recently you used your story, and you've spoken publicly about it in the past, right? To what was the purpose of that? To show what you can do or how you can repurpose an experience for
Absolutely.
a positive?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, obviously, the car accident completely redirected where I thought life was going. What's that saying? That God laughs when we make plans.
Yeah.
And it was very much a case of that for me, because at 23, I thought I had it all figured out. And I was studying to be a sports therapist. I was as fit as a fiddle. I was a competitive dancer. And what I wanted to do was work with competitive dancers in the fitness industry. And this is where I was going. Yeah. And then fate had another plan.
You were out in Germany at that time, weren't you?
I was.
And you were involved in a very serious road traffic collision, or at least your injuries were very serious.
Yes. So it was, if you remember the weather here in 2010, 2009, and it was just as bad over there in Germany. And actually, I'd just been on a weekend away, and I was on the way back to the airport that morning when the car that I was in slipped on ice. It went to the other side of the road, and unfortunately, my side took the impact from an oncoming truck.
How vivid are the memories of that?
Now, very.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 2010, but it could be yesterday morning.
Yeah.
So
is that traumatic? Not the injuries, but the actual experience.
Hugely.
Yeah.
And
I
very much so. What I always describe it as is it's like the rug is just pulled out from under your feet.
Yeah.
So it's very much, in 1 second your life is one way, and then in another second it's completely upside down.
You were incredibly fit. Did that help your survival?
Hugely. And I had 9 surgeries over the coming 3 years, and I met surgeons along the way who all said the same thing, that I would not have made the recovery that I made had I not been as fit as I was.
Yeah.
So that was hugely instrumental.
And what sort of legacy injuries do you have now?
The big one is the damage that was done to my abdominal wall.
Okay.
So the car at the time folded in around me, and I thought that my hips were broken. I was able to say that to the paramedics at the time, that I thought my hips were broken.
Yeah.
But what it turned out to be was damage to the abdominal wall. So it had to be rebuilt, basically. So I have 3 mesh instructions in there.
Unbelievable.
I call them my fences. So they're my tummy fences, and they basically rebuilt the abdominal wall.
Okay. And
So
that mesh is, your body accepts that it's okay, because there have been controversy about that in the past. Not that particular, but when you hear the word mesh, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And I have pins in both my arms as well. So the left arm is great. The right arm, I'm still a little bit restricted on movement. But the tummy has been the lasting. I'm very restricted in weights that I can lift. I always use the example, I would never go and do a big shop in Lidl on my own because I can't push a heavy trolley.
Yeah.
When we travel, somebody else carries my suitcases.
It's crazy because outwardly you would not know that, but these are life altering injuries, really, which is remarkable. Again, a testament, I think, to your strength, because your core, as much as it can be, must be strong as an ox now.
Completely.
Because you have to use that to support everything else.
To support everything else, and that's exactly it, because I don't have sensation on the right hand side. So an awful lot of everything else that can be built must be built.
Yeah.
And then it's a daily process, really, of, every single time, like, my family will laugh if they hear me saying this, but I call it my bump. So when I get
You've
dressed,
got your own little
I have,
things,
yes, it's my
haven't you?
bump.
Yeah.
And it's there. And to me, it's very visible. To the outside world, obviously, it's not. But every time I get dressed in the morning, I'm aware of the bump.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of the damage that was done. So even though in years, it's a long time ago, with me, the injuries are still very much with me every morning.
But do you carry them with you? Do you class them as something that's an infliction on you now, or part of you?
No, absolutely not anymore. And I think that's a big message to people, is it is a journey. It's a journey to learn who the new version of you is, and accepting that new version. Like for me, at the time, I was so determined that I was going to get back into competitive dance. I was so determined I was going to lift weights, and I was not going to let this accident change me. But I had to let the accident change me.
Yeah.
And once you accept that, then that's kind of half the battle.
So how did you, we only have a minute or two, right? But how did you then use this experience to push yourself as you have, but also not just to not work and make sure you can be the best you, but open up this business, which has proven to have great longevity and success? I
think it was a sense of, right, if you've made it out of this, go and do something good with it. And the message that I had from all the surgeons saying that had I not been as fit, but I was fit because I loved to dance. And I met so many people along the way who didn't love football, didn't love their thing.
So your fitness was a byproduct of your passion?
Completely.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was give children an opportunity to meet fitness in a way that suited them. So not in a competitive environment, not in a structured sport environment, but very much in a fun, positive way.
And where can people find out more about Rinka Kids Fitness?
Rinka.ie.
Simple
RINKA.ie.
And is it all in person, or do you put together programs, or?
It's all in person. We work in after school classes, through schools, through creches. We've got a presence in 10 counties now across the country.
Brilliant.
And we're busy, but it's great.
Excellent stuff. All right. Is there a video of this talk you gave, or was it just people in the room lucky enough to?
It was just people in the room.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little exclusive from us. Right, listen, we'll chat again in a longer format.
Super.
It's great to see you doing so well.
Thank you.
And your story is one of it's achievable inspiration, if you know what I mean. Sometimes some of these stories, that's fine for her.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Absolutely.
we can give our head a wobble sometimes and get where we want to be. Listen, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Lovely
Brilliant.
chat, Greg. Thank you.
Sarah.